I've been stuffed in your pocket for the last
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to TC McCarthy, the most entertaining and handsome science fiction author on YouTube. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different today. My upcoming book, coming in July of 2019, titled TYGER Burning, is going to be published by Baen Books, and I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit about the plot line, and then relate it to one of the more interesting stories that we have regarding one of our nearest neighbors, the planet Mars. So quickly, a little bit about TYGER Burning. It is a near-future military science fiction book, but really it's almost like a space opera kind of story. It's an alien invasion story, but it's not your typical alien invasion story. An alien race called the Somen arrive in our solar system and basically land on our planet and take over the system and force us to basically confine our activities to the immediate solar system. As a result of that, in the future, we start running out of resources, and what do humans do when they run out of resources? Well, they fight against each other. But then all of a sudden the Somen leave. And it creates a mystery, a vacuum of information where this post-alien invasion Earth has to deal with a new reality where suddenly the solar system is not a limiting factor for them anymore. They can go beyond the Kuiper Belt and start mining for minerals and other resources that they need. But nobody knows where the Somen went or, more importantly, if they're going to return. In the book, Mars plays a prominent role as a destination for the hero, Mong, who is a Burmese ex-soldier who once fought for the Chinese against the Americans and our allies. And I can't go into too much detail without giving away the rest of the story, so I'll just leave it at that. And so what I'm going to do during this episode is go over one of the more creepy incidents that is associated with the planet Mars, and this happened in real life in the 1980s. And if you follow any UFO kind of history or lore, then you've probably heard of the Phobos 2 incident that happened to the Russians in 1989. Phobos 2 followed Phobos 1, and it was a probe sent to the main planet Mars with a follow-up mission that would basically take it very closely to the main moon of Mars, Phobos. Mars has two moons, Phobos and Deimos. The probe was launched on 12 July 1988 and then entered into orbit of Mars in January of 1989. The Mars surveying portion of the mission went fairly well, and it took several images of the surface of Mars itself before it started to approach in its close approach to the moon of Phobos. Once the probe got within 50 meters of Phobos, it was supposed to release two landers, but something went wrong. The Soviets lost communication with their Phobos mission, and nobody knows exactly what happened to the probe, just that it disappeared, and they were unable, after that incident, to regain contact. Now, the official response coming from NASA was that there had been some sort of malfunction on board, but the Russians, at least some of them, seem to believe in a more exotic or nefarious explanation that may have involved a UFO. And when I say UFO, I mean an alien spacecraft. Now, as I describe these events, I'm going to put some pictures either here or here, and you can take a look at them and make some judgments on this yourself. But essentially what people believe today when they look at this from the ufologist's perspective is that when the probe approached Phobos, an alien craft launched up from the surface of Mars and either shot a beam at the probe or a laser or some kind of energy beam to destroy the probe itself, or collided with it, or did something to the probe. Why do they think this? Well, there are a series of images. One shows a shadow of an object on the surface of Mars that looks elliptical. The second is this white cigar-shaped object that some people claim is 15 to 20 kilometers long, and that this is a cigar-shaped or saucer-shaped alien craft that was among the last images taken of the probe itself. Now, there are a couple of problems with this theory. The first is, once the internet came around, we started to get the actual full images from the Soviet files, and when you look at the unaltered images, that cigar-shaped white object is, quite frankly, that's an image artifact. That's a problem with the pixels or a processing problem. There's a horizontal line that you see going across the image, typical of what you'd see if you had dead pixels on a camera or something along those lines. So the cigar-shaped object going vertically, well, that's what that is too. I'm sorry, that is not a picture of an alien craft, or at least so I thought originally. And the shadow on the surface of Mars, things cast shadows on Mars, especially its two moons, Phobos and Deimos. So unless you've got something a little more convincing to argue that that's not a shadow of one of Mars' moons, you can't really rule that out. So given that set of information or data, I have to kind of, shake my head and go, sorry, I'm not a believer in that story. I don't think that the Soviet probe was taken out by UFOs. At least I didn't until I saw something new from the Mars Curiosity Rover. Now this one's a little more interesting. Back in 2014, I believe it was April of 2014, you have people out there who are scouring all the images from Curiosity, from all the Mars data coming in from NASA on a regular basis. These people are dedicated to looking at every single image as it comes in. Same was true back in April of 2014, and there were a series of shots taken by one of the navigation cameras on board Curiosity. These are cameras that sit atop a mast. There's usually, I think there's 2 of them, designed to take stereo shots. And according to some of the data I've looked at, these are fisheye lenses set next to each other with a spectral range between 600 and 800 nanometers and a nominal exposure time of a quarter second, 0.25 seconds. That last point is very important when I put together this series of images that I'm going to show you now. Before I put them up here, these are shots taken directly from NASA's website. I did not get this from some weird website on the internet, so these are credible images. NASA did not put out full-scale, high-resolution versions of these images, and what you're looking at is what's called a subframe image. So with a nav cam, for example, the frame size, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but the frame size is defined by the number of pixels that the camera can collect on. And when you do subframe, basically what you're doing is taking a smaller subset of the available pixels to avoid things like darkening in the corners and other things that can happen when you take images using cameras like this. Now, when I strung these images together and show you the video I'm about to show you, I want to make a couple of points clear. Roughly 2 minutes elapses between each one of these pictures. If we assume that the nominal exposure time is a quarter second, then I think that what I'm about to show you is not something that's moving fast. What I'm about to show you is not some sort of streak effect because they've got the camera operating in a mode that basically allows for long time exposure. I also say that because if you look at the backfield, if you look at the background of stars, none of those stars streak. And if you were going to leave a camera open on a planet for an appreciable length of time, I know this from having done amateur astronomy, you get a streak effect not just with the image that's in the foreground, not just with the object that's in the foreground, but everything in the background as well. Now there are factors that influence that. How long do you leave the shutter open, etc., etc., etc. In general, I don't think this is a streak effect. Take a look at this and see what you think. Tell me that doesn't look almost exactly like the one of the last images taken by the Phobos 2 mission. It does. Now, I still think the image from Phobos 2 is an artifact, is not a picture of a UFO of any kind, but I have no explanation for this set of images taken by a US rover, Curiosity. It's not an artifact. It's something moving. It looks like it's moving in space behind the horizon of Mars itself, or at least so far over the horizon that if it impacted the planet's surface, we saw no effect on this image of the impact itself. What do I think it is? I have no idea. It's something long, moving at a speed that probably means that the long white line is not some artifact created by a high velocity object and long exposure times. I believe the length is, although it might not be the actual length of whatever object that this is, the length is relatively long. I have no way of estimating the length, but I am definitely curious. I'd like to know if there are any other scientists out here who have an explanation for this, especially people from NASA. I found no alternative theories, no scientific theories explaining what it is that caused this particular series of images in the first place. But so I'm not willing yet to say, aha, evidence of alien life. On the other hand, it is definitely a mystery, definitely something interesting. So Why does my book take place in the solar system? Because it's fascinating. It is a dangerous place. We are hurling through space right now, and everybody goes around their daily lives thinking, oh, it's going to be as safe as it was yesterday, when in reality, you have no idea the kinds of things that could hit you. We're finding asteroids coming close to Earth at the last minute. I won't say all the time, but on a fairly frequent basis, more frequent than I'd like. We are effectively in a spaceship, hurtling through space every day, every minute, every second. And there are plenty of mysteries out there, and I wanted my book or plot to take place in a kind of sea of these mysteries. One of the more interesting things is something that Buzz Aldrin himself pointed out with respect to Phobos, and I'll put some pictures of it here. There's some sort of monolithic-like object, that really sticks out and stands out on the surface of this small potato-shaped planetoid. It's a moon, but it's really, really small. Do I think that's an alien artifact? No. No, there's got to be a natural explanation for it, because when you look at actual high-resolution images of the thing, it's not exactly a monolith like the one you see in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Still, I'd love to go there and see what geologic processes helped this thing form in the first place. Anyway, that's all I've got. Buy my books. I'll put the end cap at the end that tells you where to get them. Thanks for watching. End transmission. Hey, TC McCarthy here, the most eclectic and entertaining science fiction author on YouTube, maybe even the internet. Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. As usual, buy my books. I've got a new one coming out in July, and I'll have a giveaway coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. Appreciate you subscribing to my channel, and please, 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 please don't forget to click that little bell icon so that whenever I upload new content, you get notified. Thanks again. See you soon.
Space